I can only imagine how this game was pitched to Nintendo.
Hey, can we, make some Zelda-themed DLC for our game? We think that's a pretty cool idea. Hey, are you the guys who made Crypt of the Necrodancer? We think this would work much better as a full game. Think you'd be up for it? Wait, what? I mean, yes, but what?
When the idea came up for a Zelda spin-off that was a crossover with Crypt of the Necrodancer, it definitely wasn't what people were expecting. Okay, so, first off, we have a Zelda game that is made by an indie developer, but it's also a fairly obscure one.
Like, had you heard of Crypt of the Necrodancer before this? Because I didn't.
This is at least somewhat obscure indie title. It's a roguelike rhythm-based dungeon crawler. Honestly, I was intrigued. Necrodancer was on sale on PS4 for like $3, so figured why not. And wow, I suck at rhythm games. I lost interest in Cadence of Hyrule pretty quickly after that. Necrodancer seemed like a cool game, but not really my cup of tea. It is a kick-ass soundtrack though, I'm not gonna deny that. Like, damn, these are some awesome tunes. But a day or two after Cadence came out, I figured I'd give it a shot anyway, because it's Zelda. Besides, if we can get more indie developed spin-offs, I'd be all for that. Long story short, I got hooked on this game after like an hour. Some maestro dude named Octavo used some magical loot thing to put the King of Hyrule to sleep and stole the Triforce of Power. Link and Zelda have to go stop him. Oh, and Cadence from Necrodancer is there too. Is there even a reason why she's here?
No.
Like, really, Cadence is here in Hyrule and she has literally no reason to be. All she does is hang out in caves and gives Link and Zelda new abilities. They don't even have much of an explanation for how she gets back to her world either. They're just like, make a wish using the Triforce, bro. Good enough for me. This is a roguelike, so no one really cares about the story anyway. Cadence of Hyrule is based on Brace Yourself's other game, Crypt of the Necrodancer. Imagine it as a turn-based dungeon crawler, but with every turn being a beat to the music. Not following the beat makes you lose your turn and leave yourself vulnerable to attacks. Keep the rhythm going, you'll get more money you can use to buy items to help you out in your current run. I'm sure there's more to it than that, but I haven't played Necrodancer extensively, maybe like an hour or so. Now imagine that same thing, but in a 2D Zelda game. Instead of dungeon crawling, you're mostly exploring an overworld that's randomly generated. Since there's more exploration involved, beat mode only comes up when there's enemies on screen. I'm not sure if there's even a term for that, but I'm calling it beat mode. Beat all the enemies on screen and you'll get a diamond, which can be used to buy either permanent upgrades like hold pieces or tools to use. Diamonds are mostly used in the respawn shop to help you get back on your feet, or at fairy fountains to upgrade your weapons. Tools are things like shovels and torches that just help you out. Shovels let you dig through dirt tiles, torches let you see inside of dungeons, rings give you special bonuses, and boots usually help you interact with the terrain. Dying makes you lose all your rupees and tools, but you're taken back to the respawn shop, and you'll be respawned to the last Sheikah Stone you visited. There is a permadeath option, but it's turned off by default. Good thing too, the average run of Cadence is much longer than a usual roguelike. The game's like 3 to 5 hours long, but to get the most out of it, you'll be replaying it to get better at the game. Now, I thought this game was weird at first. Getting in rhythm was kind of hard to adjust to, and I was dying constantly. But I don't know, after an hour or so, something just clicked with me, and that's when the game really started to get fun. There was just something really engaging about needing to keep in tune with the rhythm, while also keeping in mind how to approach enemies and how to solve puzzles. Of course, when you defeat all the enemies, beat mode stops, so you can focus on solving the puzzles. There's usually some kind of optional puzzle to solve, which gives you about what you'd expect. Sometimes tools, sometimes rupees to buy items from shops, there's hold pieces to collect, and you can even find items. Although the items are surprisingly useless. They're mostly there to solve puzzles, and even then, most of them still feel useless. Like, what's the point of having a hook shot if there's nothing to grapple onto? Even bombs only feel used to destroy cracked walls. At least some items have multiple uses, like the ice rod that can be used to cross water if you don't have flippers. This game actually has an objective, though. You need to find and complete the 4 dungeons, and then fight Octavo and Ganon in Hyrule Castle. The whole overworld is randomized, so you're likely to find them in different orders. They can even be completed in any order, assuming you have the right equipment to get into them. The requirements for each dungeon is luckily pretty loose. Like, to get into the Gerudo Ruins, you were supposed to collect these gears scattered around the desert, but since I had a goal unlock it that gives immunity to lava damage, I figured I could cross the lava somehow. I didn't have the flippers, so that option was out. I was gonna come back later, but after finding some hover boots, I rushed back and crossed it with the help of the snorkel I had. Or with the frozen grotto, I still didn't have the flippers, but I did have the ice rod, so I could cross along the frozen water instead. Like, this is cool as hell. This game really makes me want a 2D Zelda game that gives you as much creative freedom as Breath of the Wild. Giving you this kind of freedom in a roguelike was pretty brilliant. Not everyone's going to have the same items in the same order, so players can make their own ways into dungeons. The only real exception is the Lost Swamp, since you need to make it through the Lost Woods to get into there. The dungeons themselves are pretty basic. They're mostly standard dungeon crawling, but this is more like Crypt of the Necrodancer, which isn't a bad thing. If the dungeons were your traditional Zelda dungeons, it might have felt too Zelda and not enough Necrodancer. The bosses are laughably easy, however. You can beat just about all of them in less than 30 seconds without breaking a sweat. But the bosses' names are puns of the instruments they give you, and that is an automatic 10 out of 10 in my book. I'm not sure which name is better, Go Maracas or Wiz Robo. The only real low point in this game is the final dungeon. It's just this massive difficulty spike and not much else. They throw so many powerful enemies your way from seemingly out of nowhere. This game doesn't get anywhere near challenging him for this, and that's honestly why it sucks. It's doable with a bit of effort and a lot of red potions, but I can only really get through it from Link's spin attack. Oh, just to add insult to injury, the final boss is just as easy as the other bosses. At least it has the cool gimmick of letting you control 3 characters at once. The game can get a bit samey by the end, but you'll at least have different characters to break up the monotony. The 2 main characters you'll have for most of the game are Link and Zelda. You get to pick which one you start out with, but the differences are pretty minimal until later on. Each character has one of their own character-specific weapons that you have to find, by the way, but they also have their own specific abilities. Cadence and Link have a shield with aura, but Zelda has Nehru's love instead. Later on, you'll get a character-specific attack to use. Link has a spin attack, while Zelda gets Din's fire. Spinning is just a standard spin like in other games. Nothing special, but there's not usually enough enemies for it to be useful. Din's fire is the one you'll be sticking around for. It's basically just a controllable bomb that you can detonate at will. It's great. The 2 main characters pretty much come down to preference. There isn't much difference between them. So I naturally kept Zelda for most of the game. A better ability, and the name of the game actually makes sense for once.
Wait, this game isn't called The Legend of Zelda. Ah, son of a bitch.
You'll unlock Cadence pretty late in the game as well. She has a shield like Link, but instead of a spin, she gets an attack that can stun enemies. It's kinda not useful at all. It's really weird how you can't use her until right near the end of the game, even though you play as her in the tutorial. She's there helping you out in the background, but she's just not playable for some reason. There is a 4th unlockable character though. In the Lost Woods, Tingle is collecting Deku seeds. Give him 10 and he'll get your magic meter doubled. Give him another 10 and he sells you his Deku scrub friend named Yves.
Oh my god. Is Tingle a slave trader?
Anyway, however the hell you're supposed to pronounce this dude's name, it's essentially hold mode. He's got 1 hold and does minimal damage. Yeah, no thanks. Although when it comes to roguelikes, this game really doesn't have many options. Pretty much just permadeath, daily challenges, and being locked to 1 character. There is an option to disable the rhythm, but I never turned it on for this playthrough. Disabling it feels wrong to me because it's kind of the point of the game. I don't know, it's kind of like Phoenix Mode in Fire Emblem Fates. Like, yeah, it's a thing that you can do, but why would you? I suppose it's mostly there for accessibility. For those deaf folks who bought a rhythm game for some reason, or if someone's just the musical equivalent of Internet Explorer. The amount of content here is pretty light for a roguelike, but 1 run is much longer than most. I did as much exploring as I could, and I beat the game in about 4.5 hours. At 25 bucks, that might be a bit steep for some, but with roguelikes, you get a lot more out of it from replaying and getting better at it. This is basically a Zelda game that's randomly generated, and for an experience like that, you can't really get it anywhere else. But for being a rhythm game, the soundtrack is the main attraction. Like, holy hell, this is some quality ear porn. Bear with me, I'm just gonna gush about this soundtrack for a bit. There is seriously like 2 versions of every track in the game, depending on if beat mode is active or not, and it swaps between the 2 seamlessly when the mood changes, and oh my god. Oh, and there's an 8-bit version of every track, just for the pause menu? Yeah, sure. What theme should we use for the overworld? All of them. It's Tall Heights that goes into Hyrule Field that goes into Great Sea, and it's like, more please. They use the dungeon theme of A Link to the Past with the cave theme, and they somehow made it not annoying? Oh my god, thank you. How does this fit so well? And they made Kakariko Village this chill instrumental track. It's really nice. Okay, we've got access to Gerudo Valley. How do we make this thing better? Whistling. How? And then you go into combat and it's this rocky jazz rendition. It's just, boy. They even took the Song of Storms and made it into the best elevator music imaginable. Oh, you like Bellow of Fire? That one ocarina song you can play? Yeah, let's just make that a dungeon theme. And the main theme of this game is a mashup of Disco Descent from Necrodancer and Hyrule Field.
Inject this soundtrack directly into my veins, please.
Every song in this game is a total banger and it's goddamn magnificent. Yeah, these guys help out with Breath of the Wild 2's soundtrack, thanks. Holy hell, I need more of this. The graphics look really nice too. It's a huge step up from Necrodancer. Everything is really well animated, all the characters dancing along with the music was an awesome touch. The general pixel aesthetic gives him big Link to the Past vibes too. All the Link to the Past remixes definitely adds on to that. Alright, listen. This game just rocks. If you're a fan of rhythm games, Zelda music, or just music in general, you really owe it to yourself to give this one a shot. If you're like me and like Zelda but wasn't into Necrodancer, the low difficulty makes this game a lot more enjoyable to those new to rhythm games. But I must admit, you won't get much out of this if you aren't too into Zelda, and Necrodancer fans might get turned off by the low difficulty overall, but if you like Zelda and Necrodancer, you are going to be in a very specific heaven for a few hours. That might just be my favorite aspect of this game, and most crossovers like this, they tend to lean very heavily towards one game over the other. Take Tokyo Mirage Sessions for example. It's a fantastic game, but it leans too heavily towards SMT to satisfy most Fire Emblem fans. Same with Hyrule Warriors. That game leans too much towards Dynasty Warriors to satisfy that Zelda itch, but Cadence of Hyrule feels like the perfect mix of both. It's got the rhythm mechanics of Necrodancer, but it's put into a Zelda overworld. You feel like you're playing Necrodancer, but you also feel like you're playing a Zelda game at the same time, so it satisfies that itch of both games. It's this perfect blend of both styles that makes this game truly unique.
And hell, this is a Zelda game made by an indie developer. Like, dude, that's awesome. And this game's selling really well if the eShop's anything to go by. If we could get more indie developed spin-offs like this, that would probably be the best thing to come out of this game. Personally, I'd really want to see a Metroid version of Enter the Gungeon. Like, dude.
But back to Cadence, I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed this one. I'm not sure if it beats Hyrule Warriors when it comes to Zelda spin-offs, but it's damn close. It's a little expensive right now at 25 bucks, but it is well worth it. This has been Flame Guy, and if you don't mind, I'm going back to listening to this god-tier soundtrack. Take care, and I'll see you all next mission.